The autonomy of the victim is important, which means don't make decisions for them. You, as a friend or family member, are their representative because they will not be taken seriously without you present at all. Number two, they need to feel respected. It is difficult to feel respected when the person that you are going to for help is giving unsolicited advice and making plans for you. That cannot happen. That will get anybody who tries to do that in trouble, which really sucks. It's important to make decisions with the victim, and the victim needs to be informed, and you need to be informed. God, this fucking crud won't go away. Never downplay the victim's experience. I cannot function when I am by myself because I am in a constant state of fear. Because of ongoing abuse. That abuse needs to be turned in as soon as possible. And every single person wants to make the same exact mistake. They're going to make decisions for me, make calls without me, and not record it. And then I have to take their word for it. And that makes it very difficult. Because I cannot just take your word for it into court. I cannot just take your word for it to an attorney. I can't just take your word for it. You have to go with me, and you have to speak. If there's stuff that you can verify, say you can verify it. That's useful. That's helpful. Recording the situation for our safety is important. That's helpful. That's useful. If we both record it, we both have a copy. Also, if we both record it and they decide that they're going to separate us and try to tell you things that they're not telling me, then it's documented that they attempted to manipulate you, which is always great news. When they try to separate the victim and try to coerce or manipulate the people who are trying to help that person, it does need to be recorded that they tried, that they made that effort. And of course, they're going to have to break the law to do that now, won't they? As a disabled and at-risk adult, I do have the right to have a friend or family member there and present. A right which has been denied repeatedly. Why? Because no friend or family member gave a shit. I had plenty of people who promised that they would, but they never followed through. It's important to turn the crime in as soon as possible. When you are making calls supposedly for the victim, but the victim doesn't have access to those calls, doesn't have access to the words that are being used in those calls, then you end up with a situation like what I'm in now. Northwest Senior and Disability Services is who I'm being sent to. The lady who said that she was going to help me, I needed to explain this to her. I've been to Northwest Senior and Disability Centers. The lady that she's talking about who's supposed to be my caseworker, yeah, I already was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by her boss, her boss, including Jeff Linneman, who also happens to be the person that I have to go to about the abuse in Multnomah County, and he's not going to do that either. He's also the one that I have to go to about the abuse in Clatsop County, and he's not going to do that either. The thing is, there are certain things that I'm telling you for my safety. A lot of people tend to waste money on food. I have food. I can get food. Between buying me food over and over again and helping me to get my food stamps, I'd rather you made the call with me to help me get my food stamps. This lady here already helped me to do the paperwork to get my food stamps, but the food stamp office somehow lost everything in transit or something. When the victim has to make a call alone, and they have to record it because they're a disabled homeless man, you need to see the recording. That is important. But also because of the conditions that I live in, asking me to do those things is pretty inhumane. Because it forces me to shut off my phone, and I am harmed often. It's important to know what crimes have been committed against me and to turn them in as soon as possible, and there have been a lot. Now, when there's an immediate threat, like Andrew Wolnez and his druggie buddies, that does need to be turned in literally right away. Not 3 weeks down the line, not 6 months down the line. Kayla Trujillo promised that she was going to help me turn this stuff in before Natalie was killed. And after Natalie was killed, she promised again, but she literally never made an effort to actually do that. She never made an effort to write a written report or to go with me for our safety to make sure that it's turned in, that there is evidence that it was turned in, that it was turned in properly and the legal way. And all she wanted to do was argue. She kept promising that she was going to. And after 8 months of taking that abuse, when there is a deadline for getting the evidence that shows that the Boulder Police Department and Broomfield Police Department broke the law, and knowingly, willingly, and intelligently had me harmed, utilized multiple jurisdictions, and had me jumping around from jurisdiction to jurisdiction just so they could fuck with me and then say, oh, well, we can't look at anything from any other jurisdiction. So you need to hear things like that. That is important. When I say I need a friend or family member so that I can turn in the crimes, there are a lot of places that you're sending me through that is going to take forever. One thing is very common is for them to give us somebody who is on quote-unquote vacation, or it's their Friday, and so it's going to take a couple of days. This stuff needs to be turned in right away, and I can't turn it in right away without a friend or family member because I will be abused by law enforcement. I cannot possibly do any of the things that I'm being asked to do from inside of my car, but no, absolutely not. We cannot jump down the rabbit hole of housing. We need to get me in an emergency place where I can sit down and write this stuff down. I have no friends or family members who are going to invite me to their house and let me sit down in peace and quiet and write down a goddamn thing. I can't do so while I am constantly having to look over my shoulder for abuse. For another Wolnez if it's not Wolnez. It hasn't just been Wolnez doing this since September 21st. Alright, them youngins have continued to fucking terrorize me since then, and they're not the only ones. Plus, I've got all these goddamn tweakers coming up to my fucking vehicle all the goddamn time, wanting to tell me about some fucking cockamamie crazy shit. With John, he comes up and starts talking to me about this God bullshit. Now, you might be angry if you're a Christian, but if you listen to this bullshit, you'll understand completely. Everyone downplays the abuse, and the abuse is what needs to be turned in. When you're constantly saying, oh, well, let's get an advocate, but you need to know what's going on, and you need to speak it as it is. If you're going to tell me that I'm unsafe, but you're not telling them that I'm safe. If you're going to tell me that my life is at risk, but you're not going to tell them that my life is at risk, That's what puts us in an impasse. And then there's the weekend where they put us off until Monday, where you're being a go-between. And that is exactly, literally the wrong thing to do. That's the problem that Megan Misgate had. She was supposed to be a go-between, but not like that. Make the calls with the victim. With the victim. It has to be with the victim. You cannot ask the victim just to trust you. The victim has to have autonomy, and that means no table talk. Now, you're allowed to do that to some degree as a concerned citizen, but not to the point that you're setting up appointments, making appointments without the victim present. That is never okay. That takes away the autonomy of the victim. And if they're disabled, it's actually against the law, which is really important to steer clear of. Being a go-between between the victim and any other service that you're trying to connect them with, you need to not connect them with services. You need to hear their story first. The problems with all these different services, I can go through one by one and explain the situations and to some degree who is involved. But the thing is that my caseworker in this situation is not going to do her job. She's already shown that loud and clear. All they're interested in is pushing the housing thing. That takes 2 years. So we have to drop that off the plate and off the menu altogether. I need a place where I can sit down and write a fucking police report, knowing that I have peace and quiet and that I can actually fill this stuff out. There's also the evidence that needs to be turned in. I need a place where I can process it, and I can't provide that for myself. The thing with having a friend or family member who can see that, who can realize that, instead of saying, oh, well, I can help you, you're not going to be able to help right away. You're just not, because you haven't. And that's not an insult. It's not a hatred thing. But the thing is, we're spending a lot of resources and a lot of time in the wrong direction. This is a dead end. This is a rabbit hole. Now, this Micah feller, possibly. But I can't be forced to go to Tillamook Family Counseling Center or Northwest Senior and Disability Center, because I've already gone to them about the abuse and they refused to listen, refused to do their jobs, and wanted to talk in circles and then play victim. The moment they start playing victim, I'm gone. There's also the fact that her boss, Jeff Linneman, refused to look at any evidence whatsoever, at all. He wanted to talk over me and literally dismiss everything that I had to say. And that's the thing, when I'm telling you that this guy Wolnez has fucking kept this up, and it's not just Wolnez. Don't downplay it. Help me to turn it and understand that this is literally what makes it so that I can't function. Number one, I have to look over my shoulder for people who are harming me frequently and often, threatening, harassing, and intimidating me. No, I can't just let it roll off my back. This is scary goddamn shit. And nobody would expect their friends or family to go through this. I am out here again. I have been here just in this town alone for at least 13 months worth of abuse. 14 now. There is a statute of limitations on much of their body cameras. It's a grand total of 1 year. I've been here being abused for over a year. There are some things that I have recorded. Most of it I have recorded. However, some of that evidence we have to get, which means turning in the crime, getting me a safe place, not the library. A safe place in peace and quiet that is not the library, that is public. This is not acceptable or appropriate for public. That's why there's supposed to be an interview room at the police station, specifically for situations like this. Each of these agencies is supposed to have a room specifically for that. When I'm telling you about them taking advantage of me, the important thing to do is not to actually force the victim to go back to their predators, which is what making me go to Kaylee is going to be doing. It makes it so that one of my predators, a woman who was supposed to help, but did not. See, now after her, there was a woman, I believe her name was Tamara. And she's she works with Jeff Linneman. And I was supposed to have an appointment with her. And of course, they had to set it up for when she was going on vacation. And then she was going to be a few days before she came back. So, I mean, literally, it's all been hurry up and wait while I'm being abused and cannot function literally that whole time. All I can do is hang out in parking lot after parking lot being abused. Kaylee is a bad idea. Jeff Linneman is the guy who's in charge of all 4 of these counties. He's in charge of Multnomah County, which is where Portland is. He's in charge of Tillamook County. He's in charge of Clatsop County. And he's in charge of one more county that I have not been to. He is not willing to do his job, and that right there is what Portland News might be interested in. Because Jeff Linneman did, in fact and indeed, talk over me, resulting in me being abused and harmed further. He already decided, and the reason that he already decided is because I had to go in alone every time. The one time that Miss Scudder went in with me, she did not bother with trying to explain the situation or my safety issues because she'd never bothered to listen to them. She'd seen abuse against me, and much of her family had seen abuse against me. But she didn't take it seriously. When you take it seriously and your friend or family member is being harmed, you need to speak up and state outright that your friend is being harmed, not downplay the person who's abusing them and say, oh, they're all sissies. No, I can't fucking defend myself. I cannot take care of myself. When I explain to you that my muscles are jello, that's what I mean. I can't possibly take care of myself. Saying I was lucky I was in my car. Well, yes, but I can't just live in my fucking car. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, well, right with me, and most of the people like him, but then there's, of course, the fact that it is a business. And the business owners or the managers are going to get sick of it eventually. And I have fucking nonstop panic attacks in my car. And I get loud and I literally fucking scream for help. Please help me. I cannot function. I am completely too fucked up to move all of my things, and I cannot keep paying people to move things just to move them, because then I end up moving stuff literally 50 times, where I have to hire people 50 times, and then when somebody throws a tantrum, then I lose a bunch of my evidence because I have no goddamn rights because I'm stuck in a subservient environment. Understand that the housing is a temporary rabbit hole, and it is not appropriate for them to pawn us off. As soon as you tell them there is an emergency, it is a fucking felony for them to proceed like this. You literally have to tell them the exact words, his life is at fucking stake. You cannot downplay the predators. You cannot do that. When it is a male victim, there is nothing more scary than that, because that tells us you're not going to help us turn it in right away. We're going to take a really long process. And that's the point, is that I've already been diagnosed. I have the paperwork. That's what I keep trying to explain. I have already gone through all of this. I have everything that I need to turn them in. But we can't do that if I have to go back to these same people for them to do it again. Scott Shaw typed, going through abuse myself. It was a long process to get out of it myself. Well, I can't get out of it myself. That's the thing, is that we all need help, and guaranteed you didn't do it all yourself. Guaranteed you had help. Scott Shaw typed, I didn't charge my abuser, but should have. You're absolutely right. Men are 30 times more likely to be assaulted in a relationship than women. That's right. Women are 30 times more likely to be the aggressor. There's also the fact that most males do not turn in their abuser, and I'm not assuming that your abuser is a female. And with Woltnez, my abuser isn't a female. But the thing is, I am trying to turn it in, and you're getting to see what it's really like trying to turn it in. My predator literally has access to me until one of my friends or family members takes it seriously. If they don't, I continue to take abuse. I get called mentally ill and treated like I'm schizophrenic. Instead of telling them to knock off the inappropriate questioning, people are more likely to tell me to calm down, and that is never appropriate. When I go in to turn in abuse, these places tend to talk over me, and this is never appropriate. It is not okay for these people to start sending us in circles of where we need to go. And that's the problem of going and starting all over from ground zero, is that you need to understand we can't go back to the same places because it's a conflict of interest. After they've committed felonies, it is not okay to go back. They will either play victim or bully the victim, or try to coerce the person trying to help the victim, such as what the police like to do once they realize I'm trying to turn them in and they go slander my name. The people at Northwest Senior and Disability Services did not do their jobs. Instead, they threatened, harassed, and intimidated me, and that's illegal. Now, what's the precursor to playing victim? It's 3 stages. Number 1, you go in and they're supposed to do their job, but they refuse. They play stupid like they don't know what their job is. That's part 2. See, they're interested until they realize that another mandated reporter is being turned in. At which point they start playing stupid and trying to look for any excuse to backtrack out. All of a sudden, all of them are pocketbook lawyers, and they're distributing and dispensing immoral and illegal legal advice based on laws that either A, don't exist, or B, do not apply to the situation. So then they start telling you that you have to call another agency, and that agency is supposed to help you. That'd be TFCC and TCCHC. And CARE. And you go to CARE, and they want to send you around in circles, and send you around in circles, and then they want to talk about helping hands. All right, we need to literally not talk about anything at all except the abuse that I'm enduring and turning it in. Anything other than that is going to be utilized by the police to say that I wasn't trying to get help, and that nobody would help me, probably because of the way that I act. Now, just so you know, I have this on paper, so I can prove that too. Scott Shaw typed, in the courthouse, it was April 20th and was wintertime, and the birds chirped, and Dude, I don't need bullshit, okay? I'm trying to tell important instructions so that people understand how to help others. I don't care about birds chirping and stuff. The thing is, this is a much bigger situation. And don't bullshit me like that. That's exactly what that is. Don't magic up pretty stuff that may happen. Oh, well, let's think about butterflies and the birds in the windows and stuff like that. Oh, well, love and light, love and light, love and light. That doesn't fucking work. Trying to look on the bright side doesn't work. Helping the victim turn it in is what works. Looking on the bright side is a fucking time waster. On the bright side, if I can get someone off their ass immediately to help turn it in immediately, my predator may not get access to harm me again. But what am I going to get? I'm going to get stories about everybody else's bullshit. That does not help the victim. James Murphy not showing up to court did not help me. It helped my predators and law enforcement. Scott Shaw, I wasn't meaning to say that. I was saying this was 3+ years of abuse and I nearly died. And when I finally got to a courthouse who would listen to me, these were the things that experience. Well, the thing is that it's my experience right now that needs to be turned in. Your experience is valid, and I'm not trying to invalidate it in the least bit. However, when you were talking about your own stuff, well, an actual victim is trying to make a video. This is basically like if I was to be telling you personally, about the abuse that I'm going through, and you would want to stop and interrupt me to tell me your story all the fucking time. A woman named Vicky Rain was going to help me, but she's got some pretty severe mental issues, and she wanted to tell me her backstory. She even called it her backstory, and she did it at least 3 occasions while she could have been listening. And that's what really fucking sucks, is that everybody wants to stop the train and make it about them. Well, we're making it about you right now, and I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm trying to impress upon you that if you cannot focus on my story and on my situation, fine, we will stop right now and we will let you get out everything that you need to get out so that you can actually fucking listen to me. Can we do that? Go ahead and type everything that you feel like you have to type. Everything. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make that last part sound so rude. I was trying to catch my breath and still trying to speak at the same time, and it sounded much more sharp than I meant it to. Also, I'm trying to speak quickly and softly so that you don't feel as if I'm screaming at you, but also I need to get a lot of information in at once. That's what I'm trying to do. The more you interrupt me and make it about you, the more we have to derail the train to make attention for you. That's the thing about somebody who has, of course, OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, and ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's not that I am trying to be looking at every fucking squirrel that's thrown at me or every shiny that's thrown at me. It's that I am taught that I am supposed to give a shit about others before myself because I have a dick. So every time you start making it about you, my natural reaction and what I'm going to do, because I have fucking OCD, is I'm going to stop what I'm doing immediately and I'm going to pay attention to you like you're a fucking human being. But you're not showing me that respect. I am fucking scared shitless, dude. This is not fucking about you and how you understand, because you fucking don't, because you're not fucking listening, because you're making it about you. That cannot happen. That is the scariest goddamn thing, when everybody wants to interrupt you to either make it about them or to fucking troll you and make fun of you. And you have to stop and give them individualized attention right fucking now, because they want it right fucking now. Well, guess what? I don't post up on YouTube because I fucking want to. I don't leave this stuff open so people can comment because I fucking want to. It's on YouTube because I hope there's one motherfucker out there who actually gives a shit. And at least the evidence is here for it to be seen long after I've been fucking dead for years and years, hopefully. But there are always people trying to destroy my fucking Facebook and destroy my YouTube and always fucking harassing me and bullying me and picking on me, and it's incessant. And people say they're sorry. They're sorry that happened. Their life is what's important. So here's what we're going to do. I notice you keep on typing. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start reading, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to read. And you can go ahead and keep on typing because I am going to read it. Scott Shaw, you did a great job. You did an absolutely great job of typing what you were typing. All of the things that you typed are valid, and many of them are actually valid for this situation. But you can see there, overwhelmed. And also that obviously there's no hatred towards you. I'm overwhelmed. Now, this is not a video that I believe the lady will watch the whole thing. But the thing is, we'll see. Thank you. It's hard to convey through text rather than through person. Indeed, and that's what I have to say about it too. You absolutely know what I'm talking about. One of the things is, if it's your story time, then we can tell your story. Matter of fact, as long as you're at least an adult, I can actually message between you and I. If you're not an adult, I don't feel very comfortable with you being here, but given what you were typing, you seem to be an adult. A 3-year relationship that was like that seems to be an adult relationship. Now, that's not to say that a 14 or 15-year-old couldn't go through that. They absolutely can. But at 14 or 15, you've been in a relationship since you were 12 in that situation, and that doesn't seem feasible. Scott Shaw type, thank you. It's hard to convey through text rather than through person. And before that he typed, sorry, these responses are based off what you were saying real time and it's delayed. You're right, it is delayed. There's a lady and a couple of gentlemen I'm hoping will watch this video, and seeing me have a panic attack over that probably won't improve their belief in me, but it'll help them to understand how easily I'm overwhelmed, and that's because I'm stuck in this state of crisis. There's a lot of important details, like I had housing. The problem is, when I had housing, I didn't have the help of the services that we're supposed to have. When I had the quote-unquote help of those services, I didn't have housing. Then there's the fact that I had to travel to all of them for them to tell me that their services are free, except that they're taxing the American tax dollars for it. They're supposed to help victims of abuse, especially at-risk and disabled adults, and that's absolutely not what they're doing. Also, as far as the diagnosis of Asperger's, I do have a diagnosis of Asperger's. They now call it high-functioning autism. That way, people with Asperger's can have access to the same resources that people with low-functioning autism have, because we suffer with the same symptoms. Unfortunately, unless you pay attention, you don't realize that those symptoms are the same exact symptoms as somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder. That's right, nearly every person with Asperger's is a victim. to the point that they have PTSD. Some of us get lucky. Like, there's a woman named Temple Grandin. Although seeing she does and the way that she interacts with animals, I have a lot more difficulty seeing her as somebody with Asperger's, and a lot more belief that she is probably a born and bred fucking psychopath. Holy shit, that woman is scary. Scott Shaw typed, "It was honestly insane watching you call the numbers you've called recently and them being so negligent in so many ways. It terrifies me for getting help for myself." Well, it should. See, that's the thing about you speaking up. You need to speak up about how terrifying it is. And speak up about how all of us have to go through that. Speak up about how scary that truly is. Right now, we have a case, a very strong case for the United Nations. See, we've got refugee camps, both in the United States and abroad, paid for by the American tax dollars. Now, how much money does it cost to set up a refugee camp? Oh, the United States is not going to allow property for that. They'll allow tiny squished areas where people are allowed temporary housing, but they're stuck with the criminals. I had money to buy property. My disability money, the back payments, I was going to save them to get my own place. I was going to buy a safe house in Nebraska. That way, a woman that I know, she's one of the Richmonds. Her name is Brittany Richmond. She also goes by Star. And she was being abused in Colorado, so I wanted her to have a safe place she could go. Families tend to protect the predator more so than the victim, and her predator was her own father. His name is Mark Richmond, and he's a fucking pedophile. Anyway, my back payments were going to go to buying that house for Megan Christie for $7,000. That's when Natalie died. I didn't have the money, and all of my money since Natalie's death has been spent jumping through the same hoops I did before she died. They'll send you to therapy. That's where they'll send you. You need to have a friend or family member to go in with you, and here's why. If you go in by yourself, well, that creates a safety issue where they can make up any story that they want at any point in time. Even if you record it, they call you mentally ill and prevent you from turning it in. They send you around in circles. The cops say that you have to go to mental health, and they're supposed to help. Mental health says that the cops are supposed to do it. And back and forth between the two of them you go until they both play victim. Oh, poor us. Well, let's have Sean arrested. Or told that he's being trespassed. And that goes for you too. Scott Shaw typed, "That's the only thing I've learned." Let me see. That's the one thing I've learned from your videos so far. If you don't have a friend or family member, you'll be jumping through the infinite hoops. That's right. But also, even if you have a friend or family member, they may be too busy making these calls on your behalf without you, making calls to the same places and having the wool pulled over their eyes. See, right now, we're going through the very, very steps that I went through 14 months ago now. It's probably 14 months. Because it was September, and it's September last year, and it's November of this year. So I'm literally being sent back to the people that I was sent to begin with, and they sent her to the same people as well. And that's the thing I'm trying to explain to her. I've already talked to the boss. I'm looking for a rolling paper here. Oh my God, I found them. Praise the good Lord Almondy cheese and rice. You also get to see the druggies out here. You get to see the assaults. You get to see the threats. You get to see a lot of that. But that goes on back since before Natalie was killed. The situation with what's happened in the past, you can't just start off fresh. When this stuff happens, you can't just start off and say, all right, well, we're just going to turn in stuff from here on in, because that's the thing, is that all of the stuff that has been accumulated up to this point needs to be turned in, because it's evidence of the negligence of those officers, of those 988 lines. So what do you think of the way that they were hanging up on those 988 lines? Every time I tried to get them to let me talk to their supervisor, they'd fucking hang up or they'd send me to another agency. The one thing about that is everyone should be deathly afraid of that. Everyone. And the thing is that you as a concerned citizen can call that in. As many people as possible should be getting a hold of Tina Kotek and saying, hey, tampon lady, this guy Sean Schwartz is on the streets. He knows this shit. He knows what the fuck is going on. Your money is being wasted, and these are the people who are taking advantage of it. Oh, yeah, and we have recordings of each individual within those organizations doing it. They are sidestepping the issue. They didn't turn it in the first time like they were supposed to. And that's the thing about having a friend or family member going in with me. They need to go explain, hey, he is an at-risk and disabled adult. He gets a check and everything. He's also supposed to have somebody to help him with that. But if his caseworker is not focusing at all on the abuse or allowing Sean a safe place to write that down in peace and quiet, it's difficult. Oh, that gentleman who got into the fight went by just now. He didn't try yelling at me or shouting at me like he did last time. Anyway, Mr. Shaw, I'm about to end this video. Please leave your stuff on here so that the lady that this is for, there's actually 3 different people, so that they can see it, so they know I wasn't talking to myself like a crazy person. And also that could help them to reach out to you to try to get some help, because you have seen some of these things. But also, if they do reach out to you, or if you reach out to them, you can actually speak up on your own channel about this situation. Also, did you send me a message? doggedroman@gmail.com is my email address. If you send me a message, then I can forward a message from Natalie Bollinger over a year before she was killed. It's about how horrible a person her father is. Right before she was killed, when she wanted to get a protection order against me, it was that post in specific that prompted her to do it. But here's the thing, is that the laws as far as protection orders go weren't followed. The laws as far as an at-risk and disabled adult being abused weren't followed. You can see everywhere I go that I get treated this way everywhere I go. And I've been treated this way since before Natalie was killed too. This is the problem, is that people keep claiming that I stalked Natalie in Virginia, and they fucking assaulted me for it. Over and over again. That separated me from my friends and family. Not being able to turn it into the police because I'd just get bullied and talked over really fucking sucks. The fact that that went on for over a year before Natalie's death, where literally Jeff Ritter of Colorado Coalition of the Homeless and Kara Heller and people like Nicole Peralta of Region 1 Nebraska, these people all got paid. These people all got paid for not doing their job for me. Their job for me, not my job. My job as the victim is to come forward about it and say, hey, here's the evidence, please help. But that's why you have to go to a friend or family member, of course, which Mr. Scott is well aware of by now. Let's see. Mr. Shaw typed, let's see. I had graduated in 2016 and I was that bad relationship in 2018, and I can remember when everything happened with Natalie. It's mind-blowing that YouTube gave me your channel 5 years later. I didn't realize the connection, and it was mind-blowing. And yes, I know you typed it wrong, but yes, I get that it's connection. And then Scott Shaw typed mind-blowing. Scott Shaw typed, I remember watching real time when you talked for 40 minutes before you realized they hung up. And when you said hello enough times, my heart completely broke. Absolutely. I luckily have a good mother, and if it weren't for that, I'd be in that STPO spot. All right, Mr. Shaw, I'm going to end this video so I can make one for your attention. We're going to make it just a conversation back and forth between you and I. I'll talk about my shit. You can talk about your shit. We can focus on the Natalie stuff, which is probably the most important at this point. Here's the thing. While all that was going on with Natalie, people didn't stop to try understanding. You know, I was in contact with her family members. They had reached out to me, several of them, both of Natalie's ex-stepmothers. There was also the bullying and the harassment by Natalie's mother. There's also the evidence that I reached out to Natalie's mother before any of this situation in December. I reached out to her on December 9th. December 12th, I had to expose Ted Bollinger with Natalie's email, which I'm willing to send you, along with a video. The videos from right around when Natalie was killed, one of them's got 94,000 views already. Sorry, it got 94,000 views within just a few days of Natalie disappearing. The problem is, nobody is taking my safety seriously, and that's why these predators continue to gain access to me over and over and over again. These predators will not stop until I have a person who understands what an emergency it really is. Wolnez has been allowed to assault me on 7 occasions, and my vehicle on at least 4 occasions, in the time that I've been waiting on someone to take it seriously. Now that people are looking at the evidence, it is nearly impossible not to take it seriously. It's fucking scary as all hell. Mr. Shaw, you wouldn't happen to know how long it takes to diagnose schizophrenia, would you? I'll tell you the answer. 6 months. Yet police officers thought that I would be diagnosed with schizophrenia at a hospital in Longmont that I was at for less than 24 hours just because an officer said so. And by the way, happened to be an officer who was involved in Natalie's case. And I was trying to turn in the officers in that case for their abuse and for their negligence. Scott Shaw typed, I remember 6 months. Yep. Scott Shaw typed, and I have been around some with it, so I would definitely know. Yeah, you definitely know the difference between somebody who's pissed off, who's nuts, and somebody who's pissed off, who's fucking pissed off for a reason. You fucking kill my friends, I'm gonna fucking scream at the top of my goddamn lungs. You threaten my friends and family, you're lucky I'm not picking up a shotgun and hunting you like a fucking dog. And what's everybody's solution to this? When I come to them and say, hey, I need help turning this in, everybody wants to talk about shooting people. Holy fuck. And I'm not sure if you've seen how many people, but it's not possible. There's 7,500 videos. But I can tell you, there's at least 1,000 people or 1,000 situations on my YouTube channel where people were talking about how they would kill somebody and or offering to kill people for me and or offering me firearms. And nearly all these people, their first go-to is exactly that. And if you've seen enough bodies, you understand why I'm afraid. Anyway, there's 3 different women here all doing the same thing, just not because they are horrible people, just as you're not a horrible people. When I said that I would stop and I would make the time to listen to your stuff and read it, I did mean it. Scott Shaw typed, I remember, he typed, I remember when Andrew came up to your car and you said you could use the taser, and that's just crazy enough. Yeah, when you've got a taser and bear mace and you're not willing to use them on somebody who's beating on your vehicle or beating on you, that's one thing you might have noticed. The only people to pretend that I assaulted them were all police officers or doctors who were friends with police officers I was trying to turn in. And they did so in conjunction with those said officers. Once at Clearview, where they killed Tibor Hatay, you should look up Clearview Behavioral Health if you haven't already. Clearview Behavioral Health, Johnstown, Colorado. Scott Shaw typed exactly. You would have had to open the door, and then who knows how the video would have ended up. And Scott Shaw typed, I will. All right. Also look up Officer Waylon, WAYLON Boulder, Colorado. BOULDERCOLORADO. When they were trying to frame me for Natalie's murder, they had to paint me as a violent schizophrenic, and they attempted it. I was assaulted by Officer Waylon Lolatai, and then I was charged with assault against an officer. They dropped the charges, but I'd already been injected with drugs there. And then, of course, I was injected with drugs again when I tried to turn in Officer Waylon Lolatai, and I had actually attempted to commit suicide in a hotel room. And then after I attempted to commit suicide, they took me to the Louisville hospital, took all of my money away from me. They did save my life, and then they pulled some bullshit, and then they sent me out of jurisdiction because I was still trying to turn them in, as well as Waylon Lolatai. So, they sent me out of Boulder County to another jurisdiction, which is where I encountered Clearview, and that's a fucked up place. They got closed down for killing a man named Tibor Hatay, as well as committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud. The same exact thing I said they were. And then, of course, that's the same crime being committed here by TFCC, TCCHC, Dr. Danelle Boggs of TCCHC, formerly of TFCC. They're not doing their jobs as mandated reporters. They're shoving our appointments in like sardines. They're only therapy appointments, and they're doing nothing for case management. Alright, I'm going to end this video. The last part of it was basically as much as I could for you, Mr. Shaw. I should have made it shorter, and more concise, but I'm in the middle of a fucking panic attack because I have no friends and I'm stuck out here alone, waiting for the next time that Wolnez pulls that shit, or those little neo-Nazi fucks pull that shit, or the cops pull that shit, or of course, Christopher Stafford pulls that shit and he's got guns too. It's a very scary situation, and I hope that you will at least speak up and try to get a hold of Tina Kotek, as well as any services outside of Tillamook County. I can't possibly go through all this evidence without a safe place to do it, and it's not safe if it's public. I can't function in public because of abuse. There's no way to change that. Anyway, be safe. It's good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's too, and no victim left behind. Amen. Har har. Also, I understand that I designated basically everybody that I'm going to be sending this video to as a lady. There is a reason I do that. It's not to be disrespectful for those of you with male parts. It's because people are less likely to target you and victimize you if they believe you're a female. So, enjoy.